It's time to hammer.
Now I gotta really try hard. Shut it down!
Somehow it's the best.
Beyond Chunks Podcast.
Yum chunks!
Hey kiddies, welcome to another episode of After the Credits. And I am Sean. With me tonight is Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Say hi to the nice people, Chris.
Matt.
Hello.
Vince.
Vince isn't here with us tonight.
Oh, what happened there?
Blaze has this cool, delicious can of Dr. Pepper.
Oh, awesome.
Oh yes,
Yes.
that's the insight that I was hoping for.
This is gonna be a good episode.
You got a whole case of it. You failed to mention.
Yeah, it's like finding a yeast. I'm almost afraid to drink it because I may never see it again.
But you'll also be immortal.
You'll lead a cursed life, though.
Well, okay, I guess Vince won't be here. Neither will Ryan. But tonight we're going to be talking about Venom. You guys remember that movie from way back weeks ago? We're going to talk about it now, though, okay?
No, it's fine. It's still the number one movie right now. So.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing pretty well.
There's no way it doesn't get
Well, it met our high standards of what we talk about. We make something has to be number one box office 3 weeks in a row before we consider talking about it.
Are you actually thinking that Halloween is going to dethrone Venom? I there's no chance of that happening.
It's going to happen.
It's rated R, right?
Yeah, it's rated R.
I mean, if you're a family and you got like kids and teenagers or what, like you're gonna go see Venom. That's the movie you're gonna go see.
How's the clock in school?
You're going to go see Littlefoot from Land Before Time 2. What's that?
Starring Zendaya as Michi.
Zendaya?
Specifically talking about small. So, it's like with the snow and everything, this would fit better in like the December and November.
Yeah, well, I think they're hoping it'll have staying power, and it'll...
Really?
I don't know. I think I talked about it on this previous episode about how bad the trailer looked, but it actually has...
Right.
Oh, it has reviews better than what I thought it would be. But I haven't seen it. Maybe it's great. Maybe Channing Tatum is just a treat as a giant Yeti or a human. I don't know who he plays.
That's a true statement, just independent of this movie.
That's true. All right. Well, we're going to be talking about Venom, but we just posted an episode. But Matt, you weren't on that episode, so tell us what you've been reading and watching. And
Tell
thinking
me, how'd that
dreaming.
episode go?
It was a beautiful episode. We discussed. Well, tune in. You could go listen to it right now. If this is in the future,
We're in a time vortex. It doesn't quite work that way. I'm very confused.
Good. We talked about First Man.
You guys, are you on board now? That's your selling point? Okay.
This is our first taste of Space Jam 2, then.
Yeah, probably. We'll see.
No, wasn't a train wreck?
Oh
the
yeah,
first taste?
he was very good in that actually.
There you go.
Or our expectations from him as an actor were really low, which is similarly how I feel about the movie Venom. But at any rate, what have I been up to? When was the last time I was on the show? It was a little while ago.
About. I think it was when we were talking about Avatar, live action.
Oh right,
Avatar.
yeah. Okay, what have I been doing? Okay, wait, I know this one. I've been playing Spider-Man.
Oh, you got Spider-Man, did you?
I got it. Yeah.
Watch
I don't like that.
It's
Yeah,
Xbox Connect.
I got it as a birthday present from Maeve.
Sweet. How you liking it?
I think I agree with you guys for the most part. I mean, it's really addictive. It's also, I like those kind of games because it's easy to pick up for a little while and do just like a couple of the dots on the map and then put it back down. But I definitely think this is closer to like Infamous than it is to Arkham. Just in tone and gameplay style. and it's unfair to compare to either of them, but I'm gonna anyway. I don't love the combat system. I don't. It's, but at the same time, maybe just because in Batman it's more satisfying because it's easier, and yeah, I think.
I would say the opposite, because Sean and I were kind of talking about this, and like in the heart of news, right?
Yeah.
Very combo game, just like Spider-Man is. When you hit punch and you miss the punch, right? Like the game punishes you, and basically slaps you. Don't hold over your moves, right? And
Right.
Like,
Sure.
You'll probably you'll be in an animation, and then somebody will hit you, and you'll lose yourself, so on and so forth, unless your combo drops to 0. Spider-Man's like the exact opposite. You can go nuts and just like swinging in the air, and your combo will still maintain itself for quite a bit afterwards, and enemies will still kind of stay back. I found it to be a little bit more friendly than many of the RPR.
I mean, that might be just a difference in our two gameplay styles or just our strengths as gamers, but I complete opposite. I have died way more in this game than I was expecting to. Where even just like the first Arkham game, I just feel like, yeah, okay, you break your combo, you get slapped, whatever. I've always found it very easy to get back into the groove of it in any kind of battle, even if there's like 50 dudes. Like, for the most part, there are not that many encounters combat wise in any of the Batman games that really like, oh god, I gotta keep trying it, I gotta keep doing it, and I died again. Yeah, but Spider-Man, I mean, I'm not that far into it, and part of it is because I have been focusing on all the, I guess you call them FedEx quests. I've been focusing on all the stuff on the map. One, because like I get this weird anxiety when I play open world games where I don't want to go through the main story too quickly. And also because in this game in particular, because I suck at fighting so much, I'm like, well, let me just go do all the menial stuff and I'll just level up a whole bunch. So then, and so I'm just trying to, like, every time, like, I'm so early in the game that they haven't even unlocked all the different types of missions. Like, I just recently got the Harry Osborn Science Labs stuff littered all over my map. So, but before that, I had done pretty much every satellite tower. I haven't done every crime because you kind of have to find them, but I've done every satellite tower. I did all the backpacks that I could get, the picture taking, the picture taking missions, all that stuff, and just trying to get as many unlockables and go up the skill tree and everything.
Thinking back when I first started, I do remember dying a little bit, trying to get accustomed to the combat, and I feel like the game kind of isn't entirely balanced to what they offer baseline Spider-Man, but like once you start unlocking other abilities, it just becomes a cakewalk. It almost becomes like formulaic.
Right.
You'll just be countering almost everything.
Right.
Throwing it back in their faces.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, once you start getting like more equipment and stuff, like it gets a lot easier. The combat
Right.
is really easy.
So yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. But that, and then the web slinging is really fun, but I almost feel like it's a little bit too easy. And again, not fair to compare to Batman, but I'm going to. I think just as far as like flying and zipping around a city, I think it's more fun in the Arkham games because you have to go through those stupid AR missions to get good at it. But then once you're good at it, like, it's so satisfying to like just jump from a building and like zoom between two other buildings and then under a bridge and then back up as Batman because you have to practice that. You're not just automatically good at it. And Spider-Man, I just feel like you hold R2, whatever the button is, and you do all these amazing things, and it kind of, the novelty wears off after a little while. But then you go do a mission, and then the mission's over, and you're like, all right, cool, I'll go swing some more. So but it's not.
I kind of think I felt the same as you did at the beginning too. The web swinging, I think, is deceptively simple. It's a lot more, or vice versa, deceptively complex. You can just sit there and swing R2 and get through the game for the most part, but as you play more and you kind of pick up on a lot more of the intricacies of kind of, you actually do have a lot more control if you choose to use it, and you could be a lot more. One, you could just go a lot faster. You could just, like, there's actually pretty decent physics involved and stuff, but it's not something it really blatantly teaches you. So you kind of have to, like, okay, let me, like, how do I go faster? I just want to get, and you kind of start having to experiment a little bit, and you start using a couple of different moves, and before you know it, you're like, oh, this is way more in depth than I originally thought, and it makes it a lot more fun. So I almost never, I think there's a trophy where you have to fast travel like 5 times. If it wasn't for that trophy, I don't think I would have ever fast traveled, just because it was so much fun, especially when you get into the deep end of just like the swinging, to just go across the city and just like, oh man, launching off buildings and just nose diving to the street and then peak, swinging out of it at the last second. And I got a lot of those kind of elements where you feel like you're more in control than I did at first. Exactly what you're saying, where you're just, okay, hold R2 and it works and it looks cool, but you're right, it's not that fun at first.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I may be sounding a little bit overly negative about it, but because it is fun, and again, it's the game is really addictive, because it's just like, hey, it's sort of a, I don't know, for me, it's sort of a check out for a little while kind of game.
Yeah,
is how I have felt about it. Which is, it's fine. Also, there's just the fact that I've never been super into Spider-Man as a comic and a character and whatnot, so it's not going to be as compelling for me as the Batman games. Because I find
it's fun though to just kind of to discover a lot of these games. I think are a good entry point to people who aren't as familiar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so it's like, oh, you recognize some things as most probably the average gamer does, but there's enough there that you're like, oh, what's that? Oh, do I know what that is? And it kind of brings you into the world a little bit. Same with the Batman games. I mean, all the details and inside baseball kind of stuff that made you want to go back and like, oh, that was a cool character. I should go pick up a comic book about that guy or something. Yeah, the Spider-Man podcast. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I still wouldn't mind doing one about it. I mean,
I wouldn't mind either. Obviously, when you finish. Plus, there's plenty of DLC for the next couple months coming out, so there's going to be stuff that we potentially can talk about. Even if we don't all play the DLC, we could still talk about the game. I think would be kind of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would still like to. And I definitely am going to finish it. Because once I get to a good level, I'm just going to probably, just blast through the main story. And
that's the easiest way to level up is just do the story missions. You get a level almost every story mission anyway.
Right.
So you'll probably get close to max level, if not max level, just by doing most of the story. So.
All right, yeah, but cool. Overall, I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I'm not I wouldn't say that I'm disappointed. I'm having a good time with it, so I'm looking forward to going through that.
Nice.
But yeah, all right. Let's change the subject though.
Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to hijack you, but since we're talking about games, I started playing a game last night. It's an indie game. You may have heard of it, but it's called Return of the Obra Dinn. It's by the same maker, what's his name? Luke something. The same creator of Papers, Please. Did you guys ever play that or know or hear?
I didn't play.
Game?
I'm aware of it, but I didn't play it.
Well, Papers, Please is an amazing game. It's super cheap on Steam. Even if you only play it for an hour one night, it's worth it. As I think it's one of the most important games of like the last decade. Sorry, maybe I'm setting expectations too high, but I just think it's a brilliant game. It's really good. Anyways, so this is the next game we did. And so far I'm loving it. It's a really unique game. It's the premise is that it's like Imperial Britain during the 1800s, and there's a ship that was some trade vessel comes back to port in London with all of its crew dead, all 60 members dead, and you're an investigator trying to find out what happened. And so the game is you are going and you have to find out how each person died, who they were, and who killed them. And it's like this gigantic logic puzzle on this giant pirate ship. Well, not pirate, but British, trade vessel. And so you're like trying to piece out, okay, this is the first mate, and he died from a gunshot, but this guy didn't have a gun, so he couldn't have killed him. But he had so you're like piecing, like, do you know those like old, like in those little brain teaser books of like those grids where like you would kind of do little logic puzzles? Do you know what I'm talking about? Does that sound familiar? It's kind of like that, but then mixed with like a little bit of like Her Story, which is another one of my favorite games of all time, where you're kind of solving the puzzle, but also putting together the narrative in your own terms a little bit and kind of discovering it. And it's a really unique graphic style. It's all monochrome with 3D.
I'm looking at it right now, actually. I just Googled it, and yeah, this looks amazing.
it's all like done in like old Macintosh. You could change it, or like Commodore, or like old monochrome graphics, but it's first person in 3D, so it's really fluid, but it's just really unique. I highly recommend it. It's just came out this week, and I just started playing it, and it's really addictive, and especially if you like puzzle games and just kind of like mystery things where you're like unraveling things. It's really, really fun. Anyways, that
Cool.
aside,
Cool.
what else do you watch or anything else, Matt, before we move on?
I went to go see Avenue Q.
Oh, I've always
Yeah.
wanted to see that. Is
Oh,
that as good as
you-
it?
Well, I'd seen it before. I saw it. I saw it back in, I want to say 2007 or 8, when it was relatively new at the time, and the big Broadway touring show came to town. I saw it in San Diego.
Mhm.
But there's been a lot of productions of that show happening in recent years, and it's been really popular with smaller playhouses. And I think it actually that's one of the I saw it in another theater down in San Diego in Ocean Beach. It was a very small playhouse. Audience maybe only fit like, I don't know, 100, 200, somewhere in that range. Very small. But I actually think it works better in that setting. And I think part of the reason why a lot of theaters are doing it is because the puppets are very. I'm sure the images of the puppets are copyrighted, but there's a lot more of them that are floating around now. So if you're a theater and you want to get the rights to Avenue Q and put that show on, it's easier to obtain the stuff that you need to do the show, because you can't just like make your own puppet and some bootleg looking. It'd be like because it's the whole idea is it's like Naughty Sesame Street, right? It's and you couldn't just like make a bootleg like Oscar the Grouch if you were doing Sesame Street. It'd have to look like it. So now that there's a lot more of those floating around, it's easier for small theaters to do. Yeah, but it was a good production. Sean, this is kind of random, but last year I went to go see a production of Legally Blonde the musical in Hollywood at a black box theater. It's Cupcake Studios. I think I was telling you about it last time I was up in LA.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me about it.
I don't know why, but the other day I just randomly went to their website to see what they were up to, and they're doing Avenue Q really soon. So,
oh, really? I'll have to look into it. Cupcake Studio, you said? Yeah,
if you're interested in seeing that show, their production of Legally Blonde was fantastic. It was maybe my favorite production of the show I'd seen, and I've seen the Broadway touring show of that version of that show. So they're a good, solid production company, and that theater's about the same size that I saw Avenue Q in San Diego. So I feel like that would be a good opportunity to check it out if you're interested.
Sweet, I'll check it out.
You should.
I'll check show
don't
times
forget.
and
Excellent. I'm trying to think of what else I've been up to. It's really, I haven't really seen any other movies. Venom's the first movie I saw in forever. I told you a while I was going through King of the Hill. I'm still going through King of the Hill. There's so many seasons, but that's an excellent show. I know I'm late to the party on that one, like a lot of things, but that's an excellent show. That's pretty much all I've been up to.
All right. Well, as the listeners have recently already heard what Chris and I have been up to. Oh, sorry, add to it.
I've also been watching, I only remember this because the new episode came out today, and I watched it, that Titan show on DC Universe, which I showed you like the first episode, and it's alright. The second episode was still super violent, and it works sometimes, and it doesn't work sometimes.
As an angsty teen, I love violence, so.
I mean, except they're not teens, which is probably why they don't call it teen.
Isn't Raven a violent teen?
She's a teen, but Dick Grayson's not a teen. He's like in his 20s.
He's a seasoned detective, even though he looks like he's 12 years old.
Oh.
That's just how the actor looks.
I know. He looks like a child.
Starfire looks like she's not a teen. Maybe Beast Boy might be a teen. Also, this episode had Talking Dove, which I know is really obscure, and most people don't know who they are. But
They're birds. I know those birds. I've seen those birds before.
But, yeah, it's interesting so far. I'll stick with it and see where it goes.
Cool.
Cool.
Well, lots of stuff has happened in the one day since our last episode. So,
Hill House, and man, there's a lot to talk about.
we won't get into it. We've already went over it too much, and we may do an episode on it. But that's a good show. Anyways, but let's get to the Venoms. Let's get to
Great.
Brock Sampson, Brock Turner, Eddie Brock. Venom. We're going to talk about spoilers. All that jazz. This is not based on a true story, so you can't look it up historically to see what actually happened. Unfortunately. Well, with the symbiote, it does kind of... He could have picked up the symbiote from the moon. Neil Armstrong could have. Anyways, Venom. Yeah, so still number 1 in the box office after like 3 weeks. So I guess that says something.
I think it's starting week 3 right now. Right?
Okay, I don't know what it's saying. But my expectations were really low going into this. And I can't say that it was a good movie, but I wasn't wholly disappointed.
That's kind of the internet consensus. I'm looking at it right now. 30% critics, 88% audience.
Really? 88? Well, I don't know about that. I also think 30% is too low, though.
Yeah, I kind of feel like both of those numbers are inflated in the wrong direction.
Yes, exactly.
But
if you take the average of those, I think that's where I sit, kind of.
What is the average of those?
Like 47 or something? I don't know. Or 50? Maybe 50 something?
I'm a teacher. I should know. It's 59.
You passed. All your students now can respect you.
59.
Yeah, okay. That's, I guess, pretty close to how I feel. Yeah, honestly, I thought the first half of the film was actually pretty good. It was pretty solid. The first half of the film was a solid, like, superhero adventure-ish, film. Mm-hmm. And then I felt the second half of the film was like that's where it kind of hit my expectations of being just really dumb, and it kind of fell apart. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I wanted it to be dumber or not as dumb. The movie's tonally is a little at war with itself, and I think my biggest gripe with it is there were just stretches in the movie where I was kind of bored, like I kind of checked out. Yeah. But then on the flip side, a ranting, raving, like lunatic Tom Hardy jumped into a lobster tank and started eating live lobsters, and that was possibly the best scene in movie history for the film. I'm like by myself in the corner of this like movie theater, just like laughing like an idiot, and like no one else in the theater is. I don't know, but like maybe I've just been so starved for comedies. Like there hasn't been a good comedy in theaters in a really long time, I feel like. But that was just, oh my gosh, so beautiful. And there's like a lot of goofy stuff like that I really enjoyed. And yeah, I don't know. I couldn't bring myself to dislike it. What you said, I'm not sure if I'm going to say it's a good movie, but I don't really have too many like direct like criticisms of it. It was fine. I had a good time.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe partially because August, September, and kind of leading into holiday, it's been pretty slim pickings. So there's not really much else up against it. But partially it's that, like you're saying, it has those moments and it's entertaining enough that even kind of the word of mouth that this is, where we're not actually really wholeheartedly endorsing it, is enough to get people like, all right, I'm gonna see it.
Yeah, I mean, I get, my expectations were like in the ground going into this movie, and I came real close to just going to watch the Lady Gaga movie instead. and I was like, okay, I'll see this one so that we can do the podcast. I'll just do it. I'll watch it. I'll get it out of the way, because I didn't think seeing the Lady Gaga movie was an option for the podcast until you guys brought it up. So if I'd have known that, I probably would have just gone to see it, but because I still haven't seen it yet. But I'm like, all right, Venom, why not? Why the heck not? Whatever. I think there's a part of me that like didn't want it to succeed because of the whole Sony all that
Yeah.
jazz, and the idea of it like being a solo movie, and just like the whole state of like you got Marvel doing their cinematic universe, and then you got like, and it's like here's the gold standard for how like you want these comics to be handled now, and then you see like Sony and DC stumbling, and you're like, no, come on, just like pull it together. You know.
But it's so weird. I don't.
Right, but I mean that's the thing, is that the Spider-Man universe is fractured now, because there's no like, this is not part of it, and it's like, so, but they have all these solo movies in production. If you go look at the production slate, they have like Kraven the Hunter movie on the slate, and the I can't remember her name, but the one who's basically Catwoman, and then Silver something, the other Black Cat who's Silver.
Wait, Sony still has solo films for all those?
Those are all in development at the moment. But these are all movies. But exactly, and then, these are all movies that are all like born out of the Spider-Man universe, and I'm just like, no, I want the Spider-Man universe to be a cohesive thing, but it won't be.
But the fact that they are still making guys into the Spider-Verse movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's like, that is like a declaration. It's like, hey, we're going to continue doing our thing over here, but Marvel can have the same thing, have it be separate.
But they can't, though, because Marvel still has to get the blessing of Sony for anything. So, like, they couldn't fold in Venom if they wanted to, unless Sony was okay with it. Now they got their own Venom. They couldn't bring in Black Cat or Silver Sable or any, like, Sony's got control over all that stuff. So they're the ones who get to decide how their cinematic Spider-Man universe is represented, and it's just weird. I don't have a better word for it. It's just all really weird.
I think weird is the best way to put it. Well, before sorry, Chris, what did you think? Just sorry, you know, broad stroke, like collectively, how did you feel about it?
Well, let me start with I hate Venom.
Okay, the character of Venom?
As an anti-hero.
Okay.
I love Venom as a villain.
Yeah.
His traditional art, with Spider-Man, which we kind of got to see in Spider-Man. We also kind of jumped all over it. Like, that Venom I like. I think Venom is an awesome villain and counterpart to Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
This whole 90s anti-hero fad. It's like, oh, Venom's popular, let's give him his own comic. And blah, 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 right? And,
yeah.
It's not designed to be that.
Right, yeah. And that's kind of...
Like, right, you're watching this movie, you're like, oh, I can't be on the ship. You're going to use your brain. If you let me keep using your body, you won't die, but you're taking over the world, right? Put me on the rocket, blah, blah, blah. But it's halfway through the movie, it's just like, for no reason whatsoever, he's like, nah, like, we're going to save it. And it's like, what?
And I think that's kind of where I feel too, and that's a result of the bigger thing that I was saying, is that disconnected from its origins, its real origins, it feels weird. Yeah, it feels strange. Like, you could do the anti-hero thing after he's established as like.
To be fair though, like, Venom has like a lot of comic books. Feels like he does.
Yeah, he does, but I think collectively, like, the common perception of Venom is in the scope or in the realm of Spider-Man. Like, everyone associates Venom with Spider-Man.
Right. Especially because a lot of the Spider-Man villains are just like copy paste another one.
Yeah,
but
here's
an
animal.
Costume.
Let's make that animal a villain. And
like,
Venom's like this is an actual threat. This guy seems interesting, and it's so tied to Spider-Man. And then to just like take that on its own, you're right, it just feels weird. And I agree about the whole anti-hero thing. Like, I think the biggest accomplishment, but I guess ironically, the biggest accomplishment of the film is that I felt like they were able to somehow pull that was, I think, why I had such low expectations, is that I didn't think that Venom would work as a character on his own without like a foil of a hero character. Like, you can't have a villain be your hero without an actual hero first established.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But they were able to do it somewhat.
doesn't have that foil. So here's this guy, this anti-hero now that we're kind of following around. Like that, I guess that's kind of what makes that final scene.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think it's Well, it's because I think they changed the character. I think they took artistic license, which I think was the correct thing to do, because they made Eddie Brock a much more likable hero character before the symbiote attaches to him, right? Like in the normal Spider-Man canon, Eddie Brock's much more of a jerk. He's not some guy fighting to take down power structures. He's out for himself. You know what I mean? Like, but in the film, he's much more of an empathetic character. He's still a bit of a jerk and an egotist, but it's all towards an end of like bringing down, you know, evilness and like justice and what's right and wrong. And so it's like, oh, okay, yeah, he's a good guy, right? Like he's a jerk and he does stupid things, but he's still ultimately trying to do the right thing, even if it's not the right way. So that's what I think in those ways they made smart changes, because I think if they played him more as the traditional Eddie Brock of just a jerk, right, that the movie would not work.
Yeah.
Because then the symbiote can be the bad guy. Like, you know, like
right.
They made the villain still because it's Venom, but Eddie Brock is the hero instead. I don't know. I guess that's obvious, but I guess coming into the film, it wasn't obvious. Like that's not what I was picturing to happen. So, anyways,
yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I think when I was reflecting on it, I was reminded of our Han Solo conversation, where I think Ryan was saying like we can't hold it against the movie for existing.
Yeah.
Right. So like, and that's the thing, is that like really when I going into this movie with all this negativity, I came in, it all had to do with the studio and the cinematic universes. Not all of it, but a lot of it had to do with that stuff. And I felt so cynical about it going in. And then I'm like, okay, just try to divorce it of all that. What I think of the movie. Yeah, it's pretty good. I had a good time, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I mean by this, kind of what I meant with like the biggest accomplishment of the film was I think it was able to actually kind of stand alone if you're able to kind of sever from all the baggage, just, you know.
Yeah, the baggage, exactly. Mm-hmm. Of which there's quite a bit.
Yes. Anyways, so getting into the kind of some of the plot stuff, like I said, the first half to me I thought was fairly solid. Like as far as comic book, you know, whatever sci-fi junk, not all of it has to make, you know, some sort of perfect sense. But then the second half, I felt like it just completely crumbled in terms of just like motivations of characters. Like it stopped making any sense in terms of why people were doing things and what they were trying to do. And that's what I mean, where I kind of thought it kind of fell apart. I don't know. Do you get like specifically, I guess the villain you mentioned, also just Venom himself. All of a sudden I like this plan, I'm going to save it. Like that was just like really just silly, but also like the villain, like I didn't quite understand what was happening and why why.
The most basic.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the whole point is they come to the planet to take it over. Okay, Venom's working against that, but that's still Ryan's only motivation, right? It's like going up to the rocket. I don't know why they're keeping me on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they built up like that character, like, because the whole prologue is that thing infecting the Thai people, or
and then the little girl at the airport, and all that.
Like they built all that. Like they didn't need any of that. Like
that was a lot of build up for nothing.
Exactly. And then it's just like, oh, the what's his name, Eddie, or I forgot his name, the actor's name, but the bad guy, Mark Zuckerberg character, just like, oh, I guess I'm him now. I did it.
Carlton Drake, played by Riz Ahmed.
That's it, Riz Ahmed.
Yeah, I'm looking at the IMDb. Oh yeah, also Jenny Slate was in this movie. That was crazy.
That was really crazy, and then she's just dead.
I cannot recall seeing her in a movie where it wasn't just an outright like comedic, goofy role. And I kept waiting for her to like say something funny.
I was kind of surprised they killed her off too, because I thought she was going to be the plucky like scientist kind of sidekick, like helping him. It's like,
no, she hasn't said anything funny yet.
Deleted scenes.
All this stuff where Tom Hardy said that like his favorite 40 minutes of the movie were deleted. And,
I remember reading that.
It's just Jenny Slate saying funny things, maybe.
That's the whole.
Well, I also think maybe it was the second act of the movie. As long as we're talking about the structure of the movie, you said you liked the first half a lot. I kind of thought it took a while to get going. I wanted Venom stuff to happen sooner, and then once Venom stuff started happening, I felt like we were already at the climax, and I went, "What? We're climbing a rocket, and this is all happening." Or like, I really liked all the stuff I really liked was the Eddie Brock Venom relationship, trying to figure out how to exist in the same body, and all the crazy antics. And I mentioned the lobster take already, but the tater tots, yes, stuff like that, like just all the and just seeing them there's Eddie just sort of coming to terms with, all right, I guess this is what life is now, and all that stuff. That stuff was great, but not only just because it was funny, but I also liked it because it felt real. Eddie Brock didn't because the cliche is Eddie Brock gets infused, and at first he might be confused, and he's like, oh my gosh, I have so much power now. That's what happened in Spider-Man 3. That's what always happens it's what happened with the villain in this movie. Mm-hmm. But that didn't happen and that's why it was this is actually kind of surprising. It's better than I was expecting. He constantly is just no, this is awful. Get this thing out of me. Or what is, I don't know how to do. I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm doing. He's scared the whole time. He's confused. He's sick. He's just that seems like an actual reaction to what should be happening to someone. Yeah. As opposed to when the villain or everyone else, they're just yeah. And then the thing is that he goes through all that. I mean, it's all self-inflicted, but he goes through all that trauma at the beginning of the movie. And then now it's well, of course this is a thing that would be happening to me. His whole his whole attitude towards it just totally just yeah, all right, well, okay, that's...
once he actually gets split from it, and he's you were trying to kill me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but you got some development going on here, right? They're at odds now.
Yeah, I like that too. Even then, they're still he's trying to get away from it.
I'm still used to that. End up finding it in the woods.
Yeah. Well, Michelle Williams Venom.
Listen, the movie Venom was a romantic comedy about a love triangle between Michelle Williams, Eddie Brock, and Venom. Because it wasn't Michelle Williams and Eddie Brock who made out. It was absolutely Eddie Brock and Venom who made out in the forest. And that tugged at my heartstrings, if I have got to say.
It was. Also, I felt kind of bad for her actual boyfriend. I guess he seemed like a cool guy.
Well,
I guess not.
That was a take I was reading somewhere, but about how it was kind of refreshing that he just wasn't an outright jerk, because a lot of times the tropes, especially in romantic comedies, but in most movies, oh, okay, you lost your girlfriend and now she's got a new guy and he's just the worst. And I get I'm so tired of that, because why would what she no, she stays with.
It
you're right.
implies heavily that she's going back with Eddie.
Maybe. I mean, it leaves the door open, but I like that he's just genuinely a nice guy, and he's I'm a doctor, so I'm going to try to help you, and because you don't look good, dude, and you got to figure this out. And that is more along the lines of what I would expect, and not just I'm a one-dimensional, stereotypical replacement boyfriend character. I was just so ready to hate that aspect of the movie until they didn't go down that road. So that was good. Good job, movie.
Thinking back to that hospital scene, man, if I was Venom, I would be man, screw this Earth. I want this thing dead. How many times did they that sonic sound where you think somebody maybe you're that would be alright, you know what, fine, screw you guys. Right?
Yeah. I guess he still gets to eat people. Is that what does Venom eat people? Is that a thing in the? I guess.
He always wanted to eat Spider-Man's brain, but that was always more because Venom part of Spider-Man. There was that.
Yeah.
Right. It was, but no, I don't think
Like I wasn't like I'm not super familiar with the comics, but I don't remember that ever from anything I had ever read or seen. So I was like, oh, is that a thing that Venom does?
I did a little bit of research, and apparently, yeah, that is a thing that he used to do until the late 90s. He's an anti-hero now. They made it so that Chocolate states his it's great. No, this is real. This is actually real. Like in Twilight, when like how like vampires can drink animal blood instead of human blood, and it's like not quite as satisfying, but it keeps them alive. Yeah, Venom's thing is chocolate. That's the thing they came up with when they decided he has to be not the villain. It's
man, I actually love that. That's hilarious.
So Venom 2 happens. I want hilarious Eddie Brock shoving chocolate syrup running down his face.
Eat it because it makes me fat. That's great. Well, okay. I guess learn a little bit. He does eat people.
Yeah. So Venom made by Tom Hardy.
I think that's right.
Because I think Tom Hardy shot finding right? The one thing I said is looking at that shot where they're fighting and they're like all tangled together, right? And it slowed down. It was done on purpose, clearly. I was like, oh, so it's just like McFarlane's.
Oh, yeah. I bet they probably took a lot of just like similar, iconic frames or whatever panels from comics and stuff like that, and kind of inspire the framing of the shots and stuff.
I mean, yeah, I don't know more to talk about.
I mean, the movie made me real hungry.
It did have a lot of good food in that movie.
Real hungry. Yeah, I don't know. What else is there? What do you got, Sean?
I was just gonna say, what do you guys think about the Enter the Spider-Verse teaser thing, whatever that was?
It was a bit long because I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, I didn't watch it. I thought
What? You didn't stay after the credits?
No, I watched we didn't talk about the but
No.
No, I left after the stinger, the credit stinger.
I
glad I did because I'm super excited for this freaking animated movie. So if I can watch it fresh, that much happier.
I mean, it wasn't really spoil anything. I mean, it's a thing that happens that you would assume is going to happen just by very nature of it being a movie with a story. But but I wasn't. Yeah, it was just cool seeing the style of it and just
no, it's cool. I guess what I mean is like the format of it. Like it wasn't like a little tag. It had nothing to do with this movie. It was just a straight up commercial for another movie. It just felt something like it was something that harkens back a little bit to a couple, I guess what maybe used to be a little, I don't know if it was more common, but it just feels like it's something that doesn't happen anymore. Like, when's the last time you've seen a trailer for another movie?
I can name the last few I can remember.
Movie.
They had the trailer for X-Men Days of Future Past after Fantastic Four, the really bad one, because at the time the studio still thought they were going to merge the Fantastic Four and X-Men universes, and then the movie came out and nobody liked it, and they went, oh no. But like, I remember watching the credits of Fantastic Four, and it cut to static, and then it cut to like a scene from X-Men Days of Future Past, and then afterwards it just cuts back to the trailer or the credits. Also, I recall in a better example of this, after Captain America, the first Captain America, they showed the Avengers trailer.
That's right. Well, that one was weird, where it kind of like tied it in. It almost made it look like it was a post-credit scene. And
looked like it was going to be
into a trailer.
They cut to a trailer, yeah. But by that point, that was the last. Like, they had done the other 5 Phase 1 movies, and that was the last one that was going to come out before Avengers. And there was a lot of hype behind Avengers, so like that was cool, Yeah. By then, people knew, okay, hey, you're an idiot if you don't stay after the credits for a Marvel movie. So, like, it was kind of a little cherry on top for the whole, sticking through the ride there. So that was a good example of that. And then Fox tried to do that, and it was no good.
No good. I don't know. I just thought I guess it's not that long. It's only been a couple years, but it's just something that it is always kind of peculiar when it's done. I find.
Yeah, I thought it was cool, and I Into the Spider-Verse was a movie I kind of on the fence about. Like, I probably would have seen it if I knew we were going to talk about it, but I kind of like, it's also a movie I kind of felt like, if I miss this, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But I proper marketing. I liked what I saw, so I probably am a little bit more inclined to go watch it now.
Yeah, I'll probably see it regardless if we do an episode or not. Just it's an interesting enough. Looks interesting enough, and that was a good. The stuff that they showed was good. I mean, it was,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. Cool. Well, oh yeah.
When I get out of here, there's gonna be carnage.
I mean, I guess they have to.
I hated it.
I thought it was stupid, but I guess they have to. Like, I don't know. Like, dude, because I guess I always thought Carnage as a character was also really dumb anyway, because it just felt like Venom to me. Like, oh wait, we made Venom good. Ah, shoot. Well, now we got to make another Venom. Well, Carnage. Let's call him Carnage.
It was Carnage being out of control that angered Venom so much that caused him to team up with Spider-Man's person.
I guess, but I'm just saying, like, just from a character, archetype structure, they're the same character to begin with.
Yeah, one's just more unhinged.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what Venom was. That's what Venom was supposed to be. But then, but this one's really. It just harkens it's super. Yeah, I guess that's exactly. But it's Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson may as well have just looked right in the camera when he said there's gonna be carnage. and then stared at the camera for a full 5 seconds in silence before it cut.
Everybody makes fun of DC for being like that edge lord kind of darkness. But yeah, like Woody Harrelson is sitting there in his little cage, in a cage. Again, pure blood, scraping.
Oh, how about his hair?
Ooh.
How about that hair? That was amazing.
It was actually a teaser for the new Joker standalone film, the fourth of the single Joker standalone film.
Simpsons 2 Sideshow Bob spinoff.
Yeah.
When I say it was amazing, I mean that in the worst possible way. By the way, that hair was amazing.
So clearly, all anybody wanted to see when even Sam Raimi was doing Spider-Man was Carnage, right? They're like, what's he Venom? What's he Carnage? What's Carnage? Serial killer. And it's just like, they're finally like, hey, probably we gotta deliver on this. It's gonna freaking close.
I'm with Sean though, because they give us this. They give us this teaser, like, okay, we're gonna do Carnage in the next one, but like, yeah, okay, but so what? How is he any different than the bad Venom goo man from this movie? Like, okay, I agree with you then.
No, agree with me. You have to note those instances.
Chris, you're on top of some mountain usually that you've spent the entire episode climbing up, and we're just all
dying
going. What's he doing up there?
Dying,
anyone gonna go try to get him down? No, not me. I'm not gonna climb up there and get you down from there, Chris. You're on your own.
I don't know. We'll see. I guess it did well enough that it's gonna be like from a studio perspective, they are gonna go, yeah, okay, cool. This is a thing. There's now a Venom CU, a VCU.
I know, yeah, but again, I think they are like they released the first Deadpool movie in a really slow time of the year, and it made a bunch of money, and so they're like, great, cool, we can compete with the big boys, and they moved it up closer to the busy time of year, and it did fine. But I think a sequel is not going to survive if they try to do the same thing with this. I think if the sequel is as good as this movie, I don't think it will it'll survive competition. I think honestly, the lack of competition is really helping this movie a lot.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think it's a big part of me, like, how about this movie? Do you feel like you even know Venom?
I mean, I don't know.
Do we? Who
cares?
Do you even know
It doesn't
yourself,
matter.
Chris? Who's to say? No, I don't. I don't know. I like Tom Hardy and Eddie Brock.
I know Eddie of this universe. I don't know who Venom is.
Guy, who's the voice of him, by the way?
Tom Hardy.
Oh, he did the voice of himself? They didn't dub a different guy to do Tom Hardy's voice in the movie? Oh, he is a good actor. I knew it. Does his own voice work?
Like it was Ryan Reynolds doing Deadpool. Juggernaut.
That's good.
That's true.
That's pretty good.
So,
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, this was not a movie that I was expecting to be enjoyable or to be financially successful or to be in a position to get a sequel. And now that all that's true, I'm just kind of like, all right, well, yeah, all right.
Yeah, that's kind of, yep, exactly. Kind of like,
Wasn't
the thing is that, like, if this any other decade, I feel, not any other decade, but prior to the constant, infinite burning dumpster fire that is cinema nowadays, and that has a negative connotation, but
just slightly.
Just slightly. But I mean, in terms of everything having to have sequels and nothing is original, if this movie came out like in the 90s or whatever, do you think it could be a standalone and it would be fine? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
There's a good old standalone film.
Would you say that this is as good as maybe Blade 1?
I wouldn't say it's as good
It's
as,
been
but
a while
it
since
have
I've seen
similar
Blade.
feelings. Like maybe as Blade 3.
Yeah,
Although Blade's not a good example because it has 2 sequels. Oh, I guess my whole theory falls apart.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Maybe
I don't know.
picks on
Like
Blade
if it was
3.
if it was a standalone film in a couple years ago, oh yeah, that was a good movie during the whole superhero craze. It was just this one little off. It was good. And now in a couple years, we're gonna look back and like, all right, here's another. There's the Silver Sable movie for some reason that we got to have now. Like that's it's nothing could be its own candle. It has to be a burning dumpster fire. Inevitably, yeah.
But you throw the candle into the dumpster to start it. So this is where we are right now.
Yes.
I've been reading in a couple different places online, like, it feels like Marvel's starting to jump the shark itself, right? Like, I was reading an article about how people say it's hard to care about Infinity War, right?
Mm-hmm.
Marvel doesn't care about Infinity War. Like, right? Like, here's Infinity War where just Thanos wipes out all the people, but Marvel's also just like full steam ahead on his dive in, like trying to keep it safe. Like, oh yeah, Spider-Man, come back, this, right? So like that's what's happening about Infinity War. It's kind of true, right? It's just like
I mean,
Yeah.
I
can't mistakes in that universe. Like Marvel itself doesn't care.
we
I mean,
talked,
we
at
yeah.
length about it. Not so much about the like. It's more just like how are they going to handle it? That's where my stakes are, and then I feel like it's kind of not pointless, but it's just like I'm not going to make any judgments like that to that extreme about the future of the MCU until I know how they're going to resolve this. So until
That's how I
then,
feel
I don't.
too, yeah.
I feel like that article that I haven't read is wrong.
I mean, I agree. I think after the next Avengers film, then I can kind of judge what you're talking about in terms of the stakes and how serious, quote unquote, they take it or not. Because right now, I think they take it seriously. Like,
Yeah. I don't know, Chris. I'm not there in the offices when they make this. They make.
I mean,
these
I'm not
decisions.
sure what you mean by like serious. They're
It's like, I mean, it's not a major surprise, but it's just like, right, like, there's that big scene where Spider-Man is turning into the smoke monster and makes his comment and everybody cries. And, like, but, like, right now, it's such a big deal to sequel to the Spider-Man movie. Like, it's getting a lot of...
yeah. That's why I say we talked about that before. I think that's a circumstance of marketing and the like. I agree there is a weirdness there, and we've talked about it, but I don't think it's a reflection of how serious they're taking the film or the stakes. And you're right. I think though mostly it depends on how Avengers 4 does, like how they resolve this. I think there's ways for them to potentially cleverly make sure the stakes are important and they don't like undercut them and they don't go back and we lose credibility while still prolonging the universe. Like, I mean, obviously that's their goal. We'll see how successful they are with it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
point is, shut up, Chris.
go die on that mountain.
We're not getting you down.
Yeah. They got 4 Joker movies, and they got a Lobo movie, and they got a Suicide Squad 2.
Don't worry about it, Chris. None of them are going to come out. Don't worry. Don't lose any sleep over it.
I mean, what is there going to be a different Batman for each one of those Joker movies?
I think at least one of them won't. At least a few of them won't have Batman.
Which is so stupid. Like, how do you have Joker without
how do you have Venom without Spider-Man?
It's like these marketers and like CEO executives are just like inbred like meat piles, like something out of Blade. You know that weird creature in Blade?
I'm sorry, what?
They're just like this weird mass of just like nothing, of just the cultural trash that we all just put up into the zeitgeist, and they're just feeding off of it. And like anything that has like some, like, that's a thing people recognize, make a movie, greenlight it, and put like $6 billion later, it's a cinematic universe. Like, and no one can stop them. They suck blood and live forever. That being said, I'm hopeful for Aquaman. Yeah.
I mean, obviously Wonder Woman 1984 invested in that.
Yeah. But even that one's actually interesting though too, because Chris Pine's in it, right?
Yeah.
He died.
He died during the filming.
Star Trek 4 Beyond 2.
What was we were talking about the other day?
Romeo and Michelle's high school. Oh yeah, Wrinkle in Time. That movie sucked.
Speculation about Chris Pine's character is because, you know, Greek gods are a thing. Like, she could just be like, yo, Hades, send him back up here, I'll do something or whatever. And then he comes back and he's like, oh god, I hate this. I want to go back to being dead.
And then at the end of the movie, he dies again.
He's gonna have to.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe he has a twin brother.
Yeah. I'm down. Whatever. It's fine. That's what DCEU. It's a mess. Who cares? Do whatever you want. As long as it's a good movie. If I like it, I don't care anymore.
Do whatever you want. Big writhing pile of flesh CEO, head of DC. Yep. All right. Well, I think that wraps up our thoughts on Venom, as we have tangentially ended up talking about not Venom for a large portion.
This is it's all everything and it's all nothing.
There's nothing. All right, look, every episode of our podcast is about everything else, because everything is everything else. There's nothing anymore.
That's because it's a big machine. It's a big assembly line machine. Whatever. It's like all those flavors of Triscuits.
You're right. They all just blend together. They're all just nothing. You know, actually, maybe we're being too, I am, but we are being too elitist and condescending. Like, think about, like, Shakespeare kind of had, like, some of his plays exist in the same universe.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. They do. Yeah.
So it's kind of the same.
And they keep remaking that over and over again.
Yeah, you're right. So it's been going on for centuries. Like, his histories obviously do, because they're all historically. But even like some of his comedies, there's characters like Falstaff is in multiple of the comedies and other things like that. And even like Homer's Odyssey takes place in the same as Iliad. Mm-hmm. Man, it's all part of the human condition. All exist in the same cinematic universe. Going back to the classics.
Not talk about Jay and Silent Bob.
I think you can not talk about it.
Well,
beg
some
to
other
differ, sir.
podcasters are going to have to prove that because we haven't done it here.
All right.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think that wraps it up for this episode. But if you guys have any thoughts on Venom or the state of our collective
The human condition.
yes, please write in and tell us or leave some comments. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Next week, or hopefully soon, we'll have some Halloween themed episodes for you the next couple weeks. Some spooky stuff. Spoopy. But until then, thanks for staying after the credits. Say bye, Chris.
Bye, Chris.